The KGB, an initialism for Komitet gosudarstvennoy bezopasnosti, IPA, kəmඨɪɪtjesdarstvennoy bezopasnosti, translated in English as Committee for State Security, was the main security agency for the Soviet Union from 1954 until its breakup in 1991. It was the chief government agency of Union Republican jurisdiction, acting as internal security, intelligence, and secret police. Similar agencies were instated in each of the republics of the Soviet Union aside from Russia and consisted of many ministries, state committees, and state commissions. The KGB was a military service and was governed by army laws and regulations, similar to the Soviet Army or MVD internal troops. While most of the KGB archives remain classified, 2 online documentary sources are available. Its main functions were foreign intelligence, counterintelligence, operative investigatory activities, guarding the state border of the USSR, guarding the leadership of the Central Committee of the Communist Party and the Soviet government, organization and ensuring of government communications as well as combating nationalism, dissent, and anti-Soviet activities. After the dissolution of the USSR, the KGB was split into the Federal Security Service and the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Russian Federation. After breaking away from the Republic of Georgia in the early 1990s with Russian help, the self-proclaimed Republic of South Ossetia established its own KGB mode of operation. A 1983 Time magazine article reported that the KGB was the world's most effective information-gathering organization. It operated legal and illegal espionage residencies in target countries where a legal resident gathered intelligence while based at the Soviet embassy or consulate, and, if caught, was protected from prosecution by diplomatic immunity. At best, the compromised spy was either returned to the Soviet Union or was declared persona non grata and expelled by the government of the target country. The illegal resident spied, unprotected by diplomatic immunity, and worked independently of Soviet diplomatic and trade missions. In its early history, the KGB valued illegal spies more than legal spies, because illegal spies infiltrated their targets with greater ease. The KGB residency executed 4 types of espionage: political, economic, military, strategic, and disinformation, effected with active measures, counterintelligence and security, and scientific technological intelligence. Quotidian duties included SIGINT and illegal support. The KGB classified its spies as agents and controllers. The false identity or legend assumed by a USSR-born illegal spy was elaborate, using the life of either a live double or a dead double. The agent then substantiated his or her legend by living it in a foreign country, before emigrating to the target country. Thus the sending of US-bound illegal residents via the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, Canada. Tradecraft included stealing and photographing documents, code names, contacts, targets, and dead letter boxes, and working as a friend of the cause, or agents provocateur, who would infiltrate the target group to sow dissension, influence policy, and arrange kidnappings and assassinations. History. Mindful of ambitious spy chiefs, and after deposing Premier Nikita Khrushchev, Secretary Leonid Brezhnev and the CPSU knew to manage the next over-ambitious KGB chairman, Alexander Shelepin, who facilitated Brezhnev's palace coup d'état against Khrushchev in 1964. With political reassignments, Shelepin protege Vladimir Semychastny was sacked as KGB chairman, and Shelepin himself was demoted from chairman of the Committee of Party and State Control to Trade Union Council chairman. In the 1980s, the glasnost liberalization of Soviet society provoked KGB chairman Vladimir Khrushchev to lead the August 1991 Soviet coup d'état attempt to depose President Mikhail Gorbachev. The thwarted kəmตั๋ɪɪ ended the KGB on 6 November 1991. The KGB's successors are the Secret Police Agency (FSB) and the Espionage Agency (SVR). In the U.S. World War interrogation, the GRU recruited the ideological agents Julian Wadley and Alger Hiss, who became State Department diplomats in 1936. The NKVD's first U.S. operation was establishing the legal residency of Boris Bazarov and the illegal residency of Iskak Akamerov in 1934. Throughout, the Communist Party USA and its General Secretary Earl Browder helped NKVD recruit Americans working in government, business, and industry. Other important, low-level and high-level ideological agents were the diplomats Lawrence Duggan and Michael Whitney Straight in the State Department, the statistician Harry Dexter White in the Treasury Department, the economist Lachlan Curry, and the Silvermaster Group, headed by statistician Greg Silvermaster, in the Farm Security Administration and the Board of Economic Warfare. Moreover, when Whittaker Chambers, formerly Alger Hiss's courier, approached the Roosevelt government to identify the Soviet spies Duggan, White, and others, he was ignored. Hence, during the Second World War, at the Tehran, Yalta, and Potsdam conferences, Big Three ally Joseph Stalin of the USSR was better informed about the war affairs of his US and UK allies than they were about his. Soviet espionage succeeded most in collecting scientific and technologic intelligence about advances in jet propulsion, radar, and encryption, which impressed Moscow, but stealing atomic secrets was the capstone of NKVD espionage against Anglo-American science and technology. To wit, British Manhattan Project team physicist Klaus Fuchs was the main agent of the Rosenberg spy ring. In 1944, the New York City Residency infiltrated the top-secret Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico by recruiting Theodore Hall, a 19-year-old Harvard physicist. During the Cold War, the KGB failed to rebuild most of its U.S. illegal resident networks. The aftermath of the Second Red Scare, McCarthyism, and the destruction of the CPUSA hampered recruitment. The last major illegal resident, Rudolf Abel, was betrayed by his assistant, Reno Hannon, in 1957. Recruitment then emphasized mercenary agents, an approach especially successful, quantify, in scientific and technical espionage. Since private industry practiced LAX internal security, unlike the U.S. government. One notable KGB success occurred in 1967, with the walk-in recruitment of U.S. Navy Chief Warrant Officer John Anthony Walker. Over 18 years, Walker enabled Soviet intelligence to decipher some 1 million U.S. Navy messages, and track the U.S. Navy. In the late Cold War, the KGB was successful with intelligence coups in the cases of the mercenary walk-in recruits FBI counter-spy Robert Hansen and CIA Soviet Division Officer Aldrich Ames. In the Soviet bloc, it was Cold War policy for the KGB of the Soviet Union and the secret services of the satellite states to extensively monitor public and private opinion, internal subversion and possible revolutionary plots in the Soviet bloc. In supporting those communist governments, the KGB was instrumental in crushing the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. And the Prague Spring of Socialism with a Human Face, in 1968 Czechoslovakia. During the Hungarian Revolt, KGB chairman Ivan Serov personally supervised the post-invasion normalization of the country. In consequence, KGB monitored the satellite state populations for occurrences of harmful attitudes and hostile acts, yet stopping the Prague Spring, deposing a nationalist communist government, was its greatest achievement. The KGB prepared the Red Army's route by infiltrating to Czechoslovakia many illegal residents disguised as Western tourists. They were to gain the trust of and spy upon the most outspoken proponents of Alexander Dubček's new government. They were to plant subversive evidence, justifying the USSR's invasion, that right-wing groups, aided by Western intelligence agencies, were going to depose the communist government of Czechoslovakia. Finally, the KGB prepared hardline, pro-USSR members of the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia, such as Alois Indra and Vasil Skultati, to assume power after the Red Army's invasion. The KGB's Czech success in the 1960s was matched with the failed suppression of the Solidarity labor movement in 1980s Poland. The KGB had forecast political instability consequent to the election of Archbishop of Krakow Karol Wojtyła as the first Polish Pope, John Paul II, whom they had categorized as subversive because of his anti-communist sermons against the one-party PUWP regime. Despite its accurate forecast of crisis, the Polish United Workers' Party hindered the KGB's destroying the nascent Solidarity-backed political movement, fearing explosive civil violence if they imposed the KGB recommended martial law. Aided by their Polish counterpart, the Służba bezopasności, the KGB successfully infiltrated spies to Solidarity in the Catholic Church, and in Operation X coordinated the declaration of martial law with Gen. Wojciech Jaruzelski and the Polish Communist Party. However, the vacillating, conciliatory Polish approach blunted KGB effectiveness, and Solidarity then fatally weakened the Communist Polish government in 1989, suppressing internal dissent. During the Cold War, the KGB actively sought to combat ideological subversion, anti-communist political and religious ideas and the dissidents who promoted them, which was generally dealt with as a matter of national security and discouraging influence of hostile foreign powers. After denouncing Stalinism in his secret speech on the personality cult and its consequences in 1956, Head of State Nikita Khrushchev lessened suppression of ideological subversion. As a result, critical literature re-emerged, including the novel One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was codenamed PAUK by the KGB. After Khrushchev's deposition in 1964, Leonid Brezhnev reverted the state and KGB to actively harsh suppression, house searches to seize documents and the continual monitoring of dissidents became routine again. To wit, in 1965, such a search and seizure operation yielded Solzhenitsyn manuscripts of slanderous fabrications, and the subversion trial of the novelists Andrei Sinyovsky and Yuliy Daniel. Sinyovsky and Daniel were captured after a Moscow literary world informant told KGB when to find them at home. In 1967, the campaign of this suppression increased under new KGB chairman Yuri Andropov. After suppressing the Prague Spring, KGB chairman Andropov established the 5th Directorate to monitor dissension and eliminate dissenters. He was especially concerned with Alexander Solzhenitsyn and Andrei Sakharov, public enemy number 1. Andropov failed to expel Solzhenitsyn before 1974, but did internally exile Sakharov to Gorky in 1980. The KGB failed to prevent Sakharov's collecting his Nobel Peace Prize in 1975. But did prevent Yuri Orlov collecting his Nobel Prize in 1978. Chairman Andropov supervised both operations. KGB dissident group infiltration featured agents provocateur pretending sympathy to the cause, smear campaigns against prominent dissidents, and show trials. Once imprisoned, the dissident endured KGB interrogators and sympathetic informants' cellmates. In the event, Mikhail Gorbachev's glasnost policies lessened persecution of dissidents. He was effecting some of the policy changes they had been demanding since the 1970s.